Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild that's happening inside of you right at this very second. We're going to look at the human circulatory system, but not just as standard biology. We're going to look at it as an absolute masterpiece of fluid engineering. Seriously, you have this incredibly complex, high-pressure network threading through all your organs and tissues. It's like a massive, non-stop transit system. We'll be looking closely at how these biological pipes are perfectly constructed to do their heavy lifting, moving oxygen, carbon dioxide, and essential food molecules to every single corner of your body. And they do this continuously, without ever taking a break.
Here's the roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll map out the body's transport network. Second, we'll meet the specific blood vessels. Third, we'll look at the heart, lungs, and kidneys. And finally, we'll examine the liver's unique system.
Section 1. The body's transport network. Understanding the blueprint.
Okay, before we get into the specific pipes branching through your arms and legs, we really need to nail down a basic ground rule for this biological plumbing. And that starts with a term called the lumen. The lumen is just the inside space or cavity of a tubular structure, like a blood vessel. It's the hollow part where the blood actually flows. Why does this matter? Well, the size of this internal space dictates the pressure and flow of the blood inside it. Manipulating this physical space is basically the body's secret weapon for how the whole system operates, whether you're just chilling on the couch or sprinting to catch a bus.
When we zoom out, we can see how this builds into this beautifully continuous, perfectly designed loop. Large arteries lead to smaller arterioles. Those arterioles split into tiny capillaries, which are basically the ultimate destination for the blood to actually do its job. Then the whole thing reverses. Those capillaries merge into venules, and those venules lead right back into the large veins. It is a perfect circuit. Large vessels taper down into these microscopic exchange zones and then merge right back into massive return vessels.
Section 2. Meet the blood vessels. Engineering form to match function.
Now this is where things get really fascinating. We need to compare our two main transport highways, arteries versus veins. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to your organs and tissues, while veins transport blood back to the heart. Because they have totally different jobs, their engineering has to be completely different. Form has to follow function.
Let's look at artery engineering first. Arteries are subjected to just incredible force. They literally have to withstand violent waves of pressure generated by your pumping heart. Think about when you go for a heavy run and you can actually feel your pulse pounding. That's this exact system going to work. To keep these vessels from bursting under all that stress, they're engineered with thick muscular walls packed with elastic fibers and fibrous tissue. And because they need to maintain those high pressures, they feature a relatively narrow lumen and no valves. They're so close to the beating heart that the sheer forward pressure is way more than enough to keep the blood from flowing backward.
Now contrast that with vein engineering. Veins are doing the opposite. They're carrying blood at very low pressures back to the heart, so they don't need all that thick muscular armor. Instead, they have much thinner walls with way less muscle. But what they do have is a large lumen. This wide-open internal space lowers resistance and lets that slow, low-pressure blood flow easily. But here's the brilliant part. Because the pressure is so low, it's actually not enough to keep the blood moving in one direction. So veins are equipped with these special pocket valves to physically prevent the backflow of blood.
So we have these two giant highways, but between them, we find the tiny delivery alleys, the capillaries. These incredible little vessels have extremely thin, permeable walls that are literally only one single cell thick, one cell. This creates the smallest possible diffusion distance. Down at this microscopic level, blood plasma is forced right through the walls into the surrounding cells, while tissue fluid carrying dissolved substances moves in the exact opposite direction. This super delicate environment is exactly where your body swaps oxygen and food molecules for carbon dioxide.
Putting it all together really illustrates the brilliance of this whole setup. The artery's thick elastic walls exist purely to handle and maintain violent pressure waves without bursting. The veins' pocket valves are specifically designed to stop low-pressure blood from falling backward. And the capillary has an extremely narrow lumen, specifically to slow down blood cells, giving them just enough time to successfully swap materials in and out of the tissues. It's biological engineering at its absolute finest.
Section 3. Heart, lungs, and kidneys, the major delivery hubs.
All right, now that we understand the pipes themselves, let's trace the exact pathway through the major biological stations. Step 1. Deoxygenated blood returning from the body flows into the right atrium through the vena cava and moves down into the right ventricle.
Step 2, it gets pumped into the pulmonary artery and heads straight to the lungs. Once it picks up fresh oxygen there, we hit step 3. This oxygenated blood flows through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium and down to the left ventricle. Finally, step 4, the left ventricle violently contracts, forcing that oxygen-rich blood into the aorta and out to the rest of the body.
It's pretty amazing when you look at the ultimate extremes of the body's plumbing. On one side, you have the massive vena cava quietly pouring low-pressure, depleted, deoxygenated blood back into the right side of the heart. And pitted directly against that is the mighty aorta on the left side, the primary artery blasting freshly oxygenated, high-pressure blood out to literally sustain your life.
Alongside the heart and lungs, we also have highly specialized hubs, like the kidneys. Kidney plumbing is wonderfully efficient. The renal artery securely branches off the main system to deliver blood specifically for filtration. Then, once the blood has been cleaned and filtered, it's returned seamlessly back to the main loop, fed directly into the vena cava through the renal vein.
Section 4. The liver's unique system, a specialized junction.
So, while most organs follow a pretty simple one-in, one-out plumbing rule, the liver is different. It requires a highly unique dual intake setup. Blood actually flows into the liver through 2 distinct vessels. First, the hepatic artery brings in oxygenated blood straight from the aorta. That's what keeps the liver tissue itself alive and functioning. But second, there's the hepatic portal vein, which brings in a totally specialized blood supply. After processing both of these intakes, a single pipe, the hepatic vein returns the combined deoxygenated blood back to the vena cava.
The hepatic portal vein is such an incredible adaptation. It delivers blood rich in nutrient molecules straight from the stomach and small intestines. Think about the last big meal you ate. The circulatory system here isn't just passively delivering oxygen, it's acting as a direct cargo route. It's a dedicated biological highway, hauling our newly digested food straight from our gut to the liver for processing, before it goes absolutely anywhere else in the body.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this. If the pressure drops so drastically by the time blood navigates those tiny, one-cell thick walls of the capillaries, how beautifully engineered must those tiny pocket valves in your veins be to continuously return blood up your legs, working against gravity, all the way back to your heart without ever failing. Every single second of every single day, this quiet, perfectly adapted biological infrastructure is working flawlessly to keep you alive. Pretty incredible, right? Thanks for joining me to explore this blueprint.